Better late than never. Welcome. Hello.
It's my favorite.
Fucking Anton Lander.
I really like the back up shower.
Bag milk.
Yes.
This is Cesus.
Hello.
Cesus.
Hello.
Cesus.
Hello.
Baba Booey. Cesus.
Tyler Yaremchuk is so fucking sexy.
Cesus.
Yes. Fucking Anton Lander.
It's my favorite.
Who are you?
But better late than never.
It is so fucking sexy.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Better late than never, episode 17. Bag Milk here. And as I always do, I start off this podcast by saying hello to Arcadia Brewing. Check them out at arcadiayeg.com to get everything you need to know about them. Or if you're on social media, Arcadia Brewing Co. on Instagram, Arcadia Brew Co. on Twitter. You got it? Do you understand? I knew you would. It's not very complicated. I just want to say again, thank you to Arcadia Brewing for making this all possible. And later on, I am going to have a very special guest. I've got Colin Basran. He is the mayor of Kelowna. He is going to be joining me shortly. But before we get to that, before we get anywhere, we need to look back at what happened since the last podcast. It is time for the news. The news is brought to you by me, Bag Milk. April 13th, 12:20 p.m. It is a sunny yet brisk day in the capital city. Edmonton Oilers coming off their second straight loss. It is disappointing. We're going to get there. So we might as well just jump right into it with a look at what happened over the last the last week since our last podcast. Last three, next three. That's what we're going to call it. The last three games and then the next three games. So last three, next three. So what happened? Last week we recorded on Wednesday. The Oilers beat Los Angeles. Huge game. Got it done in regulation. Absolutely needed that one. From there, though, they did lose in OT to Colorado on Saturday, though the frustrating part about that game, at least for me, was that the Oilers were the better team there. They were absolutely dominant from start to finish. Well, maybe not from start to finish, but I would say for 50 minutes, 45 minutes of that game, the Oilers were easily the better team. Easily. The fact that they couldn't get that extra point, especially when they had a power play in OT, that was an absolute bummer. But here's the thing. If the Oilers play that way like they did against Colorado last Saturday, April 9th, they are going to be fine. They are going to be absolutely fine. From there, however, didn't really go our way. Last night's game against the Minnesota Wild was not very good at all. I don't know what it is about the Wild, man. There's just something about this team that they're the Oilers' kryptonite, and it drives me fucking bananas. And I wish I had a solution for it. I wish I knew what the issue was, but it's just not there. The Oilers have been outscored by a 16-5 margin this year against the Wild in those three games. They've now lost 6 straight to the Wild. That's this year. That's the sweep, and that dates back into the pre-pandemic season when they were actually playing against other teams other than the Canadian division. What is it about the Wild? I don't get it. But it was an ugly, ugly loss. And when asked about what happened in Minnesota, here's how Jay Woodcroft described it.
We thought we were the authors of a lot of the chances against. Just with our breakout execution, our net play, we can be better.
Is there a level of concern at all? Because like you had mentioned, some of those goals they capitalized on were just straight up turnovers in your zone. What's your level of concern with the defense? And maybe is there a level of concern, I guess, would be a better question.
I would say that we've tried to have the mindset of taking one day at a time. Today wasn't our finest hour. We didn't come away with any points in a tough building. We can play better.
Easily can play better. I mean, the author of their own, what did he say? The author of their own destiny or something. It's very flowery language from Jay Woodcroft, and I always love it. That was it. I mean, I think back to the very first goal of the game. That was a beautiful pass from Duncan Keith. It went to the wrong team, mind you. You know, that was a mistake that the Oilers just can't make against good teams like that. And that happened multiple times in that game. The Keith Bouchard pairing was a disaster. And I've got a lot more time for Evan Bouchard to make those mistakes. He's still, I mean, I know he's not technically a rookie. He couldn't win the Calder this year, I guess, which is some weird rule, but like, he's still a young guy and he's got a lot to learn and he's playing some important minutes. But the guy who's supposed to shelter him a little bit, supposed to teach him, Duncan, come on, man. We need so much better than this.
Why you bully me?
I'm not trying to bully you, Duncan Keith. I'm just saying that I think that you need to play better. All right? Whoops, wrong one. I didn't mean to shoot you. This is what I wanted. Right? I just think that there's an opportunity to be better for a lot of players last night. Mikko Koskinen was not great. Nobody's going to write home about a 793, but I would also wouldn't hang all 5 goals on him either. You know? I just wouldn't. The Oilers, from the crease on out, had a game to forget last night against the Minnesota Wild. And so to finish up the last 3 down, 3 up, going 1-1-1, do we like that? 3 of a possible 6 points? I'd love to do better. I'd love to see more. I'd love to get a better night out than that. But we'll see what happens against the Predators tomorrow. The Nation Vacations down there, our record is 1-6 on Nation Vacations. We're in attendance. I'm not counting last night's loss, or else they'd be 1-7 for the viewing party. But the Oilers need to play better. And when asked about what comes next, Jay Woodcroft, well, here's what he said.
Jay, you've talked about the strides that you guys are hoping to make to become a great team. Can a game like this be looked at as to how consistent you have to be down the stretch in order to become that great team?
Well, what I thought about that game tonight, it was a heavy game. It was a game where every shift mattered in terms of I didn't think we leaked a whole bunch of chances or were spending numerous amount of time in our own end. I think at the end of the night we gave up 23 shots, but are there moments that we can be a lot better? And there are.
Yes.
And specifically, if I was just going to kind of nutshell it, I'd say our breakout execution and our net play has to get a whole lot better, especially against a team of that caliber.
No kidding. I mean, from the crease on out, like I said, the Oilers have to be better. And last night was a game to forget. You flush it, you move on. That's the only way I can describe it. There's nothing good that comes from that game last night against the Minnesota Wild. Outside of course, Leon Draisaitl, he scored on the power play last night. That was his 21st power play goal of the year, which sets a new franchise record for power play goals in a season, passing both Ryan Smith and Wayne Gretzky, who each had 20. Isn't that weird? Like, Smitty, I get. Like, Smitty, you know, I understand that one. Like, oh, Ryan Smith scored 20 power play goals in a season. That was a hell of a season for Smitty. But I was almost surprised to see Wayne Gretzky didn't have some crazy number attached to his name, you know? Something like that. I mean, 20 power play goals is a lot. But, like, would you have been surprised if they said Wayne Gretzky has scored 60 goals on the power play? I wouldn't. You know? I just wouldn't. Well, maybe 60's heavy, but you know what I mean, right? Of course. The other thing that I want to talk about from last night's game is there was the melee or the potential scrum where a lot of players flew in. Evander Kane was in the mix. He was standing up for Kailer Yamamoto. He came to defend his teammate. He got swarmed by Minnesota Wild players, specifically Ryan Hartman, who was swinging. Also flipped him the bird. He got a fine for just under $5,000 for that today. And when asked about that little, I don't know, what do you call it, altercation? Like, the ref stepped in. I don't understand why the linesman stepped in. I would have loved to see Evander Kane absolutely dummy someone last night. That would have been one of the only good things about that last night's game, is if Evander Kane would have dummied someone, but didn't happen. What did Kane say about the whole thing? Well,
yeah, that's what, you know, these little guys, they want to act tough, but they wait for the linesman to come in.
I love that. Hartman's quote, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't have it in front of me, was, well, there was 5 of us. Well, how come nobody on their team came to defend Evander Kane? Well, that is a problem for me too. I mean, the Oilers did dawdle to get in there. I would have loved to see everybody fly in and make their first punch a drop kick, but that's not what happened. That's just not what happened. And it's a shame the linesman had to stand in there. I know Louis DeBrusque wanted to see it. Whoops, clip there. I know Louis DeBrusque would have loved to see that clip, or that scrap, I should say. Would have loved to see it. Looking ahead at what's to come tomorrow, Nashville. I'm hoping they win it for the nation vacation. We've got a fine crew down in Nashville. I hope the boys pull out a win for them. Then they've got a massive game against Vegas on Saturday. That is a 4-point night in terms of the standings. Right now, the Oilers' current magic number, as I'm recording today on Wednesday, is 12. If you don't know what that means, basically we just need to get a combination of 12 points. That could be 6 Oilers wins. That could be 6 Golden Knights losses. It could be 3 wins for the Oilers, 3 losses for the Knights. You get it. You just got to have some kind of win-loss combination between the Oilers and the Golden Knights with our boys on the right side of those wins. That equals to 12. 12 total points, and we're in, right? When talking about the playoffs, this was a quote from Leon Draisaitl that's making the round, so I had to play it.
I wouldn't want to play us in the first round or in the playoffs in general, right? So it is important, with that being said, though, that we do stick to our details and take pride in doing the little things right.
I love hearing Leon Draisaitl talk that way. I love hearing him talk with confidence. I love him. I love hearing him talk about, you don't want to play this team. You don't want to play this team because we will dominate you. The Oilers are playing some good hockey outside of last night's game, and I'm excited. However, should we even start talking about this yet until we've got that sweet, sweet little X next to our name? Or should we wait until the Oilers have clinched before we start talking about this kind of stuff? Oh, I can't wait for clinch miss. I just can't wait for clinch miss. I'm going to ask Colin Basran, Mayor of Kelowna, what he thinks about this, how he's dealing with the stress of the stretch run. It's not easy. It's not easy. So again, the Oilers have Nashville tomorrow, Vegas. That is a monster game on Saturday. That's a 2:00 start. And then they've got Dallas after that. That comes in next Wednesday. So we've got Thursday, Saturday, and then nothing until Wednesday. So there's a little break there of 3 days between the Golden Knights and Dallas Stars. And those are going to be stressful evenings, my friends. A lot of scoreboard watching happening at the Old Castle Bag Milk right now, and it is not a great time. It's not a great time. Last night, immediately after the Oilers game lost, I'm doing the B-cast, and we start watching the Vancouver game. Vancouver was up on them at 1.31, and then they ended up winning in OT. I mean, thanks, Vancouver, but couldn't you get it done in regulation? Help us out here. Help us out. But once we get to the playoffs, who do you want the Oilers to start? Do you start Mike Smith? The oddness of what's going on right now is Mike Smith has currently passed Mikko Koskinen in terms of save percentage. Now, it's not exactly fair because he's played fewer minutes than Mikko has, but Mike Smith now has a 903. Mikko Koskinen has a 902. Neither of those is ideal, by the way. You want to be up higher than that. Like 910, 915, that's where you want to be. So we're still got some work to do. Stuart Skinner, he is the highest ranked goalie in terms of save percentage. He is a 913. Why he's not around, I don't know. But this is what we got. So who do you start? Who do you start? I just don't know.
I'm not superstitious, but I am a little stitious.
And since I am a little stitious, I'm not even going to talk about the playoffs until we got that sweet, sweet X next to our name. Looking at the standings, though, last night did not help. In terms of scoreboard watching, it was as bad as it gets. So the Oilers got no points. They are at 90 points in 74 games played. That is 2 points up on Los Angeles with a game in hand. So LA has played 75 games. They have 88 points. Vegas right behind them. 85 points over 74 games played. This is going to come right down to the wire, and I am absolutely stressing about it. Absolutely stressing about it. Who's going to sneak into the playoffs? Who's getting in? Who's getting in? I don't know. But I'm excited about it. I'm excited. I'm nervous. This is the best time to be a sports fan. It is the absolute best time to be a sports fan. And that's why I'm super excited about my next guest, Colin Basran. He is the mayor of Kelowna. How did I get the mayor of Kelowna on my podcast? I'm going to ask him that. The interview with Colin, of course, brought to you by Manscaped.com. After lighting the lamp, hit the showers with this all-in-one skin and hair care kit that covers you from head to toe. Literally from head to toe. Manscaped is trusted below the waist. Now trust them with the rest of your body and join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to Manscaped.com using the promo code BETTER20, BETTER20 to receive 20% off your order and free shipping. Got it? course you do. Manscaped.com. That's step one. You pick out your stuff, right? You use the promo code BETTER20. That'll get you 20% off your order and free shipping. I am very excited about my guest today on Better Late Than Never. I honestly don't know why he's here talking to me, but I am very fortunate, happy, excited to talk to Colin Basran, the mayor of Kelowna. Welcome to Better Late Than Never.
I am so happy to be here. Thanks for entertaining the idea.
I can't believe that you're here. So my first question is, don't you have anything more important to do? Like, isn't the mayor stuff kind of, are we pushing some important matters to the back burner here to talk a little Oilers or what?
So I created my own hashtag called Maring, #Maring. And yes, there is some important maring to be done in Kelowna. But those who know me and know me well know that a lot of my time is spent worrying, cheering on, being stressed out by the Oilers. You would think that, being a guy from Kelowna, that I'd love the Canucks, but they're my least favorite team probably on the planet. I grew up an Edmonton Oilers fan, idolizing Wayne Gretzky. He is my god still to this day. And I bleed the blue and orange, just like all of you out there.
So little history here on Colin from what I was looking it up. You went to, you graduated from BCIT, worked as a television journalist at CHBC TV from 2002 to 2007. You left there to go become a realtor and then a city councilor in 2011 before being elected as mayor in 2014. How did we go from going to BCIT and becoming a TV journalist to getting into politics? So how did that start? Was that a passion of yours?
Well, I think politics was always a passion of mine, which led me at first to journalism. So being a journalist and being on TV in my hometown, I thought, how does life get any better than this? But apparently it can, because then you can become the guy who gets to make a lot of the decisions. But no, I've always loved the news. Growing up, 60 Minutes was one of my favorite TV shows. I'm kind of a nerd, I guess. And also growing up, I'm 44 years old. So growing up in the late 70s, particularly in the early 80s, I remember watching a Ronald Reagan speech on TV and telling my parents I wanted to be the first Canadian president of the United States. That was my first career aspiration. And, maybe someday, but no, that was how I just ended up where I did. I have always loved the news, always loved politics. And what better way than to, make a difference yourself. So that's what I'm doing.
Oh, what about being an Oilers fan? Because as far as I could tell, you're in Canucks territory. How did this happen?
Yeah, it's actually tough being around so many Canucks fans, I got to say. It's including my own father, who tries to indoctrinate my children to becoming Canucks fans, but I have them well trained.
Yes.
But no, it's tough. But I like I said, I always grew up an Oilers fan, was just drawn to Gretzky and the boys on the bus as a kid. And, like I say, have stayed loyal ever since, even though, as we all know, it's been really tough at times, particularly the cycling of the old boys club through all of the top positions. But you know what? They still play a great brand of hockey that I always love, which is fast and furious. And I still hope that one day we will see those glory days return. We're kind of close, but man, it's tough after last night's loss to Minnesota, struggling a bit. But you know what? They're still my team. There always will be. And I love the fact that my son, who's 9, is absolutely Connor McDavid crazy. Leon Draisaitl, of course, played for the Rockets here. So there's that connection, as well as Duncan Keith. So I live in a city that has probably the best junior hockey franchise in the country, which has pumped out a lot of NHL players and some of them Oilers. So that's been really cool. But no, I will always be an Oilers fan. And I'm hoping that there's some things to celebrate here in the coming years ahead.
Fingers crossed. We got a very tight playoff race here coming up. We got less than 10 games left on the season. It's going to be tight. Seeing though, I'm thinking about it now, because you are the mayor of Kelowna, you're an Oilers fan, but I would imagine there are times where you have to pretend at least, or, go Canucks, even if you don't mean it. Is there ever times where you got to?
Never. No, never.
Really?
People know me enough and well enough to know that would never happen, and they would just know it wouldn't be sincere. So it's just not possible, I'm afraid. And you know what? Yeah, even there's a couple different sports too. Like there's a lot of Seahawks fans here too.
Mm-hmm.
And even that's just hard to be around. And people who know me know, I wear my heart on my sleeve, and they can tell when I'm faking it. I can't fake Canucks love. I just can't. And I will, like I say, forever be an Oiler fan. And that's why too, I always love, and here's another plug for Oilers Nation, because I love Oilers Nation. You guys have always been good to me. The last time we hung out, you guys had your nation ski trip here about 3 years ago at the Big White Ski Resort. But I'm going to put in a plug for another nation golf tournament here. I just think that that's where you guys need to be. There's a lot of Oilers fans here, a lot of Oilers who spend their summers here. And I'm telling you, I just put it on the radar. Oilers Nation golf trip to Kelowna. Anytime, you let me know.
Well, it's funny you bring that up because yes, that's a great idea. Golf tourney in the Okanagan. Come on. But so I have a group text with my buddies and they're just asking about the podcast. And, if you've listened to this show at all, I've been complaining about audio. So they're asking how that's going. But then when I said you were coming on, the first thing all my buddies talked about was, whoa, wait a minute. We need to get out to the Okanagan. We need to get out to Kelowna for a wine tasting tour. We are living the red wine lifestyle here at Oilers Nation. This is a new thing that we're dreaming of. And I couldn't possibly think of a better place to go or a little wine tasting than with the mayor of Kelowna. Come on.
I'm totally down for that. Happy to set it up. And I'm sure we could find a great wine to go with beets. I'm sure we could.
Anything to kill the taste of the beets with that's really all
I know we can do it.
Pure gas.
So 100%. So let's figure out some dates. I'll be happy to help sort that out. Some wine tasting with maybe a round of golf or two interspersed in between. I'm so into this. Absolutely.
That sounds like a hell of a nation vacation.
Okay, let's do it.
Actually, that brings me to a question from a listener. I asked on my podcast last week, do you have any questions for the mayor? And that guy, Mike, says, as a resident of the Superior wine region of the Central Okanagan, known as West Kelowna, we're all sports fans and wine fans. We need to get a bracket going for the best Okanagan winery. Is that something we can also do when we're out there, Colin?
I can't see why we couldn't. I mean, anything is possible in this day and age. So yeah, let's do that.
One thing that
Go ahead. Although I do have to say that listener said he was from West Kelowna, which is a different municipality than Kelowna itself. So he is not from the Superior wine area of West Kelowna. Kelowna is actually the Superior wine area. However, the wine over in West Kelowna is pretty good too. And we travel back and forth. So I just want to make that clear though.
Another thing that I was getting prepped for today's interview. Excited about it. One thing I noticed on your Instagram page is a clear love of music that you've got as well. I saw some videos of you singing with the hip replacements. Yeah. Where does the love of music come from you? Because as I saw you doing your thing, you were up there singing some tunes. It just triggered in me this dream I had as a kid of being in a punk rock band, wearing the chains and the spiked collars and all that shit and playing punk rock tunes. What about for you? Are you a big hip guy? Was that always the dream?
I was a huge hip fan, but I'm just a major music fan. I love live music, live for it. So actually, two of my best buddies just held an amazing concert up at Big White that featured the Arkells. They're probably my favorite Canadian band at the moment. The Glorious Sons, also another kick-ass Canadian band that I absolutely love at the moment. But no, my parents, actually, the love of music started with my parents. There was always music playing in the house, always. And just through that, I grew to love it. One thing I'm sad about, I guess, in this digital age is I can remember going to record stores and waiting for a CD release and getting it home and reading the lyrics and the liner notes. And I mean, that's something my kids will never, ever get to experience because it's just instant now and straight to their phone. But I used to love the anticipation of an album coming out and then waiting in line at the store for it. And anyways, I digress here, but I love live music. I think in a maybe a future life, I will come back as the lead singer of a band. My ex-wife says that probably was my calling and I missed it. Maybe one day, but no, I love all kinds of music.
Who's the inspiration? If you've seen your ideal frontman, that's the guy that I want to be. Like, is it a Robert Plant type or is it the Gord Downey type? What are you thinking?
Well, you've nailed two actually of my favorites. So of my top 5 bands, so we're talking here like Metallica, Led Zeppelin,
of course,
Tragically Hip, the Foo Fighters, and the Beatles. But man, Dave Grohl brings it, and it just breaks my heart that, I don't know, I have a feeling we may never see the Foo Fighters again, and that just totally crushes me.
I was thinking that too, because like Dave Grohl, first of all, Foo Fighters are an amazing band. I regret very much now, obviously, with the passing of Taylor Hawkins, that I was never able to see the Foo Fighters live. During the pandemic, obviously, a lot of changes were happening. We spent a lot of time working at home as opposed to going into the office. And one of the great things about YouTube is I would just stream concerts to my TV all day. And for the Foo Fighters, the Foos, they put on a hell of a show. So I watched countless Foo Fighter shows over the last 2 years, and just absolute bummer. But I was thinking about that too. That was Dave Grohl's best friend.
Yeah,
I could absolutely see them just, maybe a for Taylor tribute concert or something, but then I could see just never again. And that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, I just finished Dave Grohl's book, and he talks a lot about Taylor in it. So I wouldn't be surprised if they shut it down as a result of this.
I just got it too.
It's a great read. Anyways, but Foo Fighters, so Dave Grohl brings it. He is probably the best entertainer right now. Gord Downie, obviously legendary.
Legend.
So yeah, those two are huge influences for sure. One band I'm really looking forward to seeing again, though, is Metallica. Yeah. Man, they have been together so long and they are still crushing it. And so looking forward to them going on tour again. And one of the things that has been bucket list for me, being a huge Beatles fan, is Paul McCartney. And I'm finally going to see Paul McCartney for the first time ever in a couple of weeks, taking my parents for my dad's 70th birthday. So I'm so pumped for that.
I was lucky enough. I too am a massive Beatles fan. When I was growing up, my mom always had the Beatles playing in our house. So I just have like a love from when I was a child for the Beatles. And I was lucky enough to spend way too much money to go see Paul McCartney a few years ago. I was basically sitting in space at Rogers Place. Like I was nowhere near the stage, but the show that man puts on at his age is incredible. He played for well over 2 hours. The explanations of songs leading into each other were great. He'd pull up an instrument and he'd say, George gave this to me in his garden. And he was walking through and he plays Here Comes the Sun or something like that. You're going to have an amazing time because that man is a treasure.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're here talking about a little bit of hockey as well. Another thing you let me know before we started recording, you've got quite the team you're playing with out there in Kelowna. I want to hear about this. What is this, a men's league? Is this just shinny? What are we talking about? And then some of the guys you're playing with are incredible.
Yeah, it's a shinny group. So we play every Thursday. We call ourselves the Thursday Night Hockey League, the TNHL, and it includes several former NHL players as well as guys who played over in Europe for a living, and then punks like me who grew up playing rep hockey, but whose shoulders never grew any broader than they did when they were in grade 6.
Yeah.
So it's such a great group, and it's intense too. So what happens is we name 2 captains at the start of each skate. The 2 captains will then strategize and figure out who they want to pick. And then we battle it out to games of 5. And then we have a crazy statistician. His name's Mike Ridley, former 40 goal scorer for the Washington Capitals back in the late 80s, early 90s. He is our commissioner, if you will. And what we do is then we play for this trophy before Christmas and at the end of the season, where it's the high percentage versus the low winning percentage guys. So some of the skaters out there. So this year, our rookie of the year was Brent Seabrook.
Just a casual name there.
He's the only guy, though, in the TNHL currently making $7 million a year, but that's fine.
Yes, he is.
We have.
I hope he's buying some drinks after. At least he's bringing the beers, or what?
We have Jordan Tutu, Wade Redden, Todd Simpson, Corey Cross, an ex-Oiler out there.
Yep.
Another guy named Tyler Bauk, Aaron Volpatti.
Interesting. I've got a beef with Aaron Volpatti.
Uh-oh.
I'll tell you. We played this 3-on-3 tournament out at Fairmont Lake Louise a few years ago.
That looked like a ton of fun, by the way, this past year. I was like, damn, I need to get on the nation team for that.
You have to come out with us next year. So this past year we did in January was in Jasper, and they did just such a great job of preparing the grounds. The ice was great. We got super lucky with the weather. It was about -3. It was perfect for a little bit of shinny. But a few years ago, we were playing at the Fairmont Lake Louise in this exact same tournament, just different location. And Team Oilers Nation, we had done a little bit of partying the night before. We weren't exactly feeling our freshest. And our first game of the morning, I walk out and I look, and there's a guy dropping a Washington Capitals bag right next to the ice. And I'm just like, well, this doesn't seem good. Out comes all the equipment, still got the cap stickers all over it. Realize it's Aaron Volpatti. And one thing that I can tell you, Colin, with great certainty is that a hungover blogger at 9 a.m. is no match for a former NHLer. So while the beef with Aaron Volpatti is very one-sided, he did nothing wrong. I've got a grudge there. I've got a grudge there.
I'll let him know next time I see him.
Hey, if I'm ever out here in this this Thursday night hockey league, if I ever get a chance to play with you, we might have to drop the mitts here. We'll sort.
Maybe I'll put you in the same golf group for the golf game.
There you go. There you go. Now he can watch me embarrass myself at 2 sports. That would be much better.
But no, this TNHL is such a great group, and I think it goes without saying just how many NHLers either retire here or spend summers here. It's pretty spectacular, and they're all great guys. So one of the really cool things we have is an event coming up this summer that includes past and present NHLers, is to raise money for our hospital foundation. It's a slow pitch tournament that's hosted by Blake Como and Josh Georges, formerly of the Montreal Canadiens. And we have so much fun, and it is a blast. Who knows, maybe we'll even have to time the nation trip out here around that because the guys are always in the mood to party, and it's such a great time.
That sounds like a fantastic time. If there's one thing I know about the staff at Nation HQ, if we can mix in a little hockey, a little golf with some partying, that is where we are at.
Okay, perfect.
100%.
Let's stay in touch.
When you've got guys like this playing, and I know we're talking shinny here, but does it get competitive or is it pretty kind of casual?
Oh, it fully gets competitive. Actually, in our last game of the season, we had, and not uncommon to happen a couple times a year, we had the Simpson brothers. So Todd Simpson, who was formerly the captain of the Calgary Flames, has a younger but much better looking brother who played pro over in Europe. And those two battle, and they almost dropped the mitts on our last skate. And it's not uncommon for them to do that, a couple times a season, as brothers typically would.
Sure.
But also, Toots, he's still got a little fire in him. And occasionally he'll upset some guys, and words are spoken. But I don't think anybody wants to drop the mitts with Jordan Tutu. So Usually he can just skate around and do what he wants. But like I say, it's a fun group, but it's cool because you don't have to deal with all the bullshit of playing in leagues where you've got all these young kids who think, oh, I'm going to show these guys what and it's good, clean hockey. Yeah, it gets a little intense at times, but we all know, some of us like, slugs like me have to go to work, and the pros who get to sleep in at least respect that. And it's just good, clean, probably the best hockey in town, but we don't have to worry about, clowns trying to make a name for themselves, which works out pretty good.
Do you guys get some people from Kelowna out to watch?
I would say no. People probably have far more better things to do in their lives than come out at 9:45 to watch us play hockey. But occasionally there'll be guys coming in and out of the rink that have games before or after that'll stop and watch. And we play on a rink too with a bar right next door. So yeah, people will sort of be having a peek in and recognize some of the faces out there. So it's pretty cool, especially for a guy like me. Like I played rep hockey, but never junior or anything like that. So to be sharing the ice with these guys for the past 10 years has been pretty spectacular. It's like a dream come true for me.
Where are we slotting you into the lineup here? Are you a forward, puck moving defenseman? What's your spot?
I'm a dependable right winger, probably a third or fourth liner, depending on the talent
Blue guy.
at the time. And a penalty killer extraordinaire, because I just work my ass off there and back. Little buzz around the ice. And but you know what? As far as filling the net, better chance of a puck going in off my ass than off my stick. But that's okay. At least I'm in the right place at the right time, right?
They all count. And if you can get an assist from some of those NHLers, come on. I mean, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, so I've got wheels, but my hands are just garbage.
Well, happens to the best of us. I would put myself in that same boat. Wheels, no hands, just bricks in the mitts for me. Let's talk a little bit about the Oilers. You talked about coming back from little vacay. Unfortunately, you have to come back rolling into that loss against Minnesota. What do you make about this team this year, Colin? Because as somebody who, I write about the team every day, I podcast about the team. I'm having a hard time putting my finger on it because they started out hot as a pistol. We all knew it. And then in December, January, they had that really bad lull. And then they come roaring back after the Woodcroft hire. What do you see from this team? What do you make of them?
Well, you know what? Before last night's game against Minnesota, I was finally at a place where I was like, you know what? Especially really encouraged by the games against the Avalanche. I was like, okay, here we are finally in a place now where put us up against anybody, we could win. But man, Minnesota last night just really, was a punch to the gut.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, maybe we're not quite where I thought we were. But I think we're still moving in the right direction. We're climbing the mountain at the right time. And I do think that we will, my hope is anyways, that we will surprise some teams. I know we still got to get in. I think we'll get in. And I think that we'll surprise a team or two. But where are we right now? Given the signings and some of the moves that were made in the offseason, to be honest, I think we're right where I expected us to be. I wasn't wowed by any of the moves. The Duncan Keith giveaway to start the game last night.
Beautiful pass though. Taped.
Wasn't it?
Wrong team, mind you, but it was right there.
I don't know. I think we're right where we should be. I actually like the trade deadline moves. They were subtle, but I like the two players we brought in. But I just think generally our defense is not where it needs to be.
Yeah.
Goaltending, Mike Smith. I was actually surprised Smith didn't get the start yesterday against Minnesota. Not that Koskinen can be faulted for, many of those goals last night, but it's still a question mark. It is. Mike Smith, by the way, lives in Kelowna. Love the guy. I've spent some time in his backyard and on his boat. Awesome guy, and competitive as hell. Man, that's another guy you do not want to make angry, and still fire in his belly. I think that the goaltending is still a question mark. So where are we? I think we're trending in the right direction, but we're not there yet. And I don't know that we're there to go. Well, I know we're not there to go all the way this year. We still have some moves to make, but generally I like where we're heading. But there's, defense for me is still the big one.
There's just something about a loss to the Minnesota Wild too that drives me crazy. This team, since they came into the league, since Jacques Lemaire, they have just been a bane of. They're so problematic to me, and a loss is just so annoying. That makes 6 straight losses to the Wild. All 3 this year. The boys got swept dating back to pre-pandemic seasons. It's just there's something about this team. Is there? Go ahead.
I'm not even bothered by games or losses to Carolina anymore. I mean, I'm over those nightmares. Minnesota for me is the team. You've nailed it. Like, what is it about them that they are our kryptonite? And it just drives me nuts.
It drives me nuts too. And it's not like, listen, Minnesota is a good team. They're a very good hockey team, but they're not world beaters by any stretch, at least not to me. So the fact that the Oilers they can't seem to get anything done against them. They were outscored this season 16-5 to the Minnesota Wild. And why? How? How does Connor get held off the board? How does everybody look so quiet? I don't get it. And it's just frustrating.
And I saw a stat, I think, from the game yesterday that Minnesota is scoring more goals at home than any other team in the league or close to it. So it's not like they're playing this crappy trap hockey anymore. They're scoring goals and we can't match that. And then to lose to guys like Cam Talbot and Devin Dubnyk to boot. Seriously.
Yep. But, they're playing a lot of heavy hockey, though. That was some big boy hockey that Minnesota was playing last night. And I think the Oilers, I hope that was a wake up call for them as they head into Nashville tomorrow. We've got a crew down in Nashville for the nation vacation. So I'm hoping they get to see a win, but they need to tighten up when the forechecks are hard because Minnesota was all over them. And that lack of time and space really was a problem for the Oilers.
It started from the opening puck drop. Dreisaitl's line got caved in at the start. And I don't know if you noticed, but then Woodcroft changed the line and had McDavid's line out against Minnesota's top line and still not without a whole lot more success. And then they moved Cass onto McDavid's line, which I don't think really made much of a difference. Anyways, they played very heavy hockey. They anyways, it was total domination, and it was tough to watch, especially on our boy Nuge's birthday of all days.
I know. My boy didn't have a very good night last night.
That is one thing you and I have talked about and we share is our love of the Nuge.
We do.
We have kept the Nuge. My understanding is he even had his bachelor party out here last summer, was the word on the street. I didn't get invited to that, so I'm not so happy about that, but whatever. You and I both love the Nuge. It was not the birthday present we were hoping for him.
It wasn't. How do you handle those situations where I've been in the room with some Oilers from time to time? I got to pretend that I'm cool and I don't care. How is it for you? I mean, you're in a different spot where you're the mayor of Kelowna, so I imagine you meet some of these guys a little bit more often. But do you ever have that moment where you're just like, these guys are Oilers. I love the Oilers. Man, I'd love to scream about the power play, but I'm not going to right now.
Yep, I have definitely had those moments. There was a time, was it last year or 2 years ago? That the Oilers actually spent a couple off days here and practiced at Prospera Place, which is our home of the Kelowna Rockets. And so I managed to sneak in there with my kids and watch them practice and get them to sign some jerseys and stuff. And that's pretty cool. But no, I'm pretty reserved. I'm not one of those who likes to pretend I know everything. And I'd like to play it pretty cool. And if I'm asked, certainly I'll give my feedback. Probably the closest I've ever come to that is Todd McClellan lives here. Yep. And he has a really nice house on the lake, and he and I have become friends. So I'll go and, sit on his dock and have a pop on one of his Adirondack chairs, and we'll just sit around and shoot the shit. And now that he's not with the Oilers, I get to tell him how I really felt about what was going on at the time and some of the things I thought he did. So that's kind of neat. But otherwise, no, I'm a kid in a candy store and my heart still gets, pumping a bit and I get excited, but I know enough now to just play it cool.
I might have to try and get some of those stories out of you when you're not recording, So those are the ones that everybody wants to hear about.
Fair enough.
Yep. Okay, so we've got less than 10 games left. Big game against Nashville. We've got Vegas on Saturday. That is obviously a massive one. If you're looking at that, if we're going to look ahead a little bit. We're going to count our chickens, as they say. Do you have a team right now that you'd love the Oilers to face in round one, or are you kind of like me where I don't really care? I just want them to get in, and once they're in the dance, I'll worry about it. Once I get that little X next to their name, then I can think about that. But at this point, I don't really care. I just want them to get in.
Yeah, I would feel the same. I really don't care, who we face or who we match up well against, because apparently we won't be facing Minnesota regardless. So that's a good thing.
Yes.
But no, we just need to get in and take care of business here. We really should be able to. Like I say, I'm at this place now where I feel like we can take on anyone in the league on most nights. And so, no, let's take care of business and then worry about who we get in the first round after that. There isn't anyone really. I think we match up better than anyone else aside from Minnesota. So no, let's bring it on.
How are you handling the stress of the playoff run or the stretch run? Because for me, it's one of those ones where, okay, the Oilers game ends last night. Obviously, they lost. And then I instantly start darting around the scoreboard to see how out of town scoreboard is going. How are you handling this?
So doing a bit of the same. But also just given my job, don't have as much time to do that as I'd like. So I rely on Oilers Nation to keep me updated. So always on your website, checking things out. And occasionally there are times when I'm like, where's the game day info? Come on, let's go. Let's be a little quicker here. I need to know who's in the lineup, what's happening. But otherwise, no, I don't do a whole lot of scoreboard watching, and I won't probably until we get down to the final 4, 5, 6 games here, which I guess we're getting close to now. But no, I just don't have enough time between this job and 2 busy kids to be doing all that as much as I'd love to. But I can tell you though, once we are in that first round of the playoffs, I'm a very superstitious guy. So got to sit in the same seat, drink out of the same cup, do all the same things. When things are rolling, you can't change that routine. You just can't.
I love that so much. That reminded me in 2017 when they did their little, the 2-round run. I wore the same hoodie for, I think, the last 6, 7, 8 games that they played. So I'm right there with you.
I know exactly what that's like. And so everything has to be remote, same volume level. Like it's insanity. Yeah. You don't want to be around me during a playoff game because it's like, don't touch that. Leave that alone. I need that there.
100%. I'm with you. Hopefully, any chance we can get you out to Edmonton once we
There's
get going?
a good chance. So one of my best friends lives out there, and he's been I still haven't been in a game in the new rink yet, so I need to get out there.
Perfect time.
And so we have talked about it. There's a high possibility that could happen, but I've also sort of got my eyes on the World Juniors maybe this summer too.
Yes, yeah, in August.
That would be really cool. A summertime World Juniors, that's pretty sweet. But no, I would love to, and chances are good. So let's keep in touch, because there's a high probability that I'll be out there for a playoff game.
Love that. Running out of time with here, Colin. So I gotta end off with a couple of my signature questions here. Better late than never.
Okay, here we go.
First of all, this one came in from a staff member at Oilers Nation, Cam Lewis. Can you please ask Colin what he and the rest of the Kelowna City Council are doing to protect its residents from Ogopogo?
Ooh, yeah, that's a very good question. Well, I get a lot of hard-hitting questions. That might be the hardest hitting of all. Come on, Cam.
I know. We only heat here on Better Late Than Never.
We like to drop, as you know, we have some great wine here, and we tend to drop the occasional wine barrel in the lake at night when nobody can see.
Of course.
And that tends to keep the Ogopogo happy. And so far, so good.
Another thing I love to talk about on this podcast is grocery store deals. And with the price of groceries rising these last little bit, I love to talk about this kind of stuff. Colin, is there something that when you were a kid, you absolutely loved? Loved it. You ate a lot of it, drank a lot of it. Doesn't matter what it is. But then as you grew up, as you started buying your own groceries, you look at the situation that your parents went through and you went, wow, I probably shouldn't have eaten all that cheese. It's very expensive. For me, that's what it is. It's cheese, it's cherries, it's pistachios.
Okay.
Bless my old man for buying all that stuff, because I went through a ton of it.
I like where you're going there. So I grew up on an orchard. So have drank my fair share of apple juice. We also purchased a lot of juice. There is a world famous juice factory here called Sunripe.
Yes.
Oh boy, I used to drink Sunripe by the Tetra Pak all the time. I tell you, I have a hard time drinking juice now. It's kind of, apple juice is like my beats for you.
Really?
Yeah, it's I have a hard time drinking apple juice these days, because we drank it by the gallon back in the day. So yeah, that's probably the one for me, where it's like I walk by and I just go, man, I just can't do it anymore.
What about the kids? Are they big juice kids, or you look at it in the fridge and you kind of go, I don't know about that.
Well, thanks to their dad, they don't get to experience the apple juice the way that I had to as a kid. Their big thing, they like this, the bubbly, the sparkling water these days. These spoiled kids.
Yep. Yeah. No, just tap water. Yeah. Bubbly for me was tap water. And if there was some bubbles in it, that's all I got.
Exactly.
Last question. I am right now trying to sell my house. As a former realtor, do you have any advice for me on moving this unit?
Drop the price. Come on, man. Drop the price. Stop fishing. Get serious.
I love it. Very last question for you, Colin. This is coming out today. It's Wednesday. Oilers play Nashville tomorrow. How about a little score prediction?
Oh, let's see. I'm going to say 3-1 Oilers.
I love that. I'm going 4-2. Always on brand. Mayor of Kelowna, Colin Basran, thank you so much for joining me. A little fun fact for you. I have some family and my mom live in Kelowna. And when I send them this episode, they're going to wonder how the hell you ended up talking to me here. So I thank you very, very much for your time, and we'll absolutely keep in touch as we get closer to the playoffs.
Love this. Thanks for this opportunity.
Again, I want to say thank you to Colin Basran for joining me as my guest. Interview brought to you by Manscaped.com. After lighting the lamp, hit the showers with this all-in-one skin and hair care kit that covers you from head to toe. Literally, head to toe. Manscaped is trusted below the waist. Now trust them with the rest of your body. Join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to Manscaped.com, picking out your stuff, using the promo code BETTER20, and getting 20% off your order along with free shipping. That's exciting. That's very, very exciting. You know what else is exciting? The Rig Hand Distillery voicemail. RigCanDistillery.com. I'm asking you to go there. Go to RigCanDistillery.com. Check out the tour and tasting coupon. Head on out to the facility in Nisku. Check out how they make the booze. Grab yourself a drink. Grab yourself a bottle. Grab something to drink. I recommend the Double Double. That's what I've got sitting on my table right now. If this was a weekend, I would be pouring that in my coffee. Maybe I'll pour some on ice cream later. RigCanDistillery.com, of course, is the sponsor for the voicemail. You guys are leaving me some good ones, so we might as well jump right into it.
Hello, it's the donkey. Yes, let's get it that way. Oh, you're talking about guilty pleasures.
Always.
Obviously, big ups to Aha, Take On Me, because I saw them live in Doncaster, which was a bit sexy. No, but Kelly Clarkson. Make me stronger than that.
I was just going to say that. I was going to say Stronger by Kelly Clarkson is a smash jam, and I don't care what anybody says. That's what makes us stronger, soon a little higher. The whole thing, I love it.
Is my absolute tune. So, I shall mask that by saying Kelly Clarkson doesn't make you stronger.
The battery dying at the end. I don't know how anybody doesn't like Donkey Volley, because I very, very much enjoy him. Voicemail number 2.
You're listening to Better Late Than Never with bagged milk. Yes.
Ooh, that one's very erotic. Maybe a new bumper. New button for the bumper board. Voicemail number 3.
All right, so I've been reading some articles on kind of the difference, the team scene between having Dave Tippett and Jay Woodcroft. And, I think a factor that everyone has been seriously overlooking is the fact that Dave Tippett never grew the tip stash. That's probably a fireable offense in and of itself.
100%.
And, maybe that was a big...
Listen, I don't know where you're going with the end of it. We're going to finish off your message, but I'm going to go ahead and agree right off the jump. Dave Tippett never gave us that mustache. It seemed like it was starting to come back in the Winnipeg series in the playoffs last year, but we didn't get there. And had he started growing it maybe a month or two earlier, get a full, thick duster as we head into the postseason, now we're talking. Now we're making moves, and all of a sudden we look like we mean business. Look at that photo that was circling of him post-firing, where he's got a beard coming in. Where was the beard, Dave Tippett? Where was the beard or the stash?
Reason for the boys' struggles. Just curious on your thoughts on the lack of a tip stash, and maybe we can get Woody to even chip in like a mustache or something.
Listen, if Jay Woodcroft can grow a mustache, and now that is a different question entirely, because our man's is baby faced. He could be 40. Or he could be 200 and you'd never know. Can he grow a beard or a mustache? I'd love to see it. So if he does, I'm all on board with Jay Woodcroft, even more so than I already am. I'm also with you on Dave Tippett letting us all down. I'm also with you on that because the tip stash could have made a difference. It could have been that extra 10 to 12 to 15% that we needed, and I am just not happy about it at all.
Let's talk about a word. The word is beep.
All right. I think I missed that one. One more.
Let's talk about a word. The word is beep.
Beep is the word, says Donkey Volley. I wish I had you know what? Once I start getting some prizes to give away, some of these sponsors give me some prizes to give away. Maybe I'll start using secret code words. Maybe beep will be the first one. I don't know.
Somewhat apologetic beep. Yes. Beep, 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 beep. Yes.
What is happening?
That's enough beeping for now. Thank you.
Donkey Volley, you're a madman, and I love you.
Hey, Bag Milk. The name's Adam.
What's up, Adam?
Big fan of your podcast.
Thanks, man.
And to answer your question, I'd go Skinner because I still think he's our best goalie, but they're probably going to go Koskinen. I want the Kings over the Knights or Calgary because I want Calgary in the second round, which we will win. And then I just scream a lot to deal with the stress.
Adam's looking for a Calgary second round Battle of Alberta matchup. I think that'd be great. I don't really care. As I said to Colin, I just get in and then I'll worry about it. Until I see the little X next to the Oilers name, I'm not even considering playoff matchups yet too much. I know I said earlier in the podcast, well, maybe I'll, but like ultimately just get in. So the questions that Adam asked was who you start in net for the playoffs. He would go Koskinen, albeit did choose Skinner. First round opponent, how are you handling the stress? So another answer that came in was from Martin Lundin. Dofo's on Twitter if you follow him. Koskinen over Smith any day of the week. Smith is still an even bigger liability. Koskinen is solid if the D is solid, but would still have liked Skinner as an option. His ideal playoff opponent would be the Kings, probably because we're going to get Vegas. And to deal with the stress, he listens to Better Late Than Never. Thank you very much. Loomis says, think LA is our best bet. Think we match up well against them. It makes for good hockey. The Master versus Apprentice also feels like a good storyline. Obviously, McClellan and Woodcroft, I like that. But it may just be me. I don't think Vegas is necessarily a bad matchup either. Depending on the opponent, Loomis adds, I think Schmitty and Kosk offer two different looks. Kosk is a wall versus Schmitty battling and continuing play. Against LA, I feel like Koskinen would be my answer. As for dealing with the stress, Loomis adds in taking the Woody approach, just one game at a time. It's hard not to look at the out-of-town scoreboard. Very hard, but you just got to take it game by game and see what happens. Addressing the shortcomings from the previous game and keeping on building. Another thing, this was not a voicemail, but did you guys see the Chris Pronger thread he put out about where player fees go if you're making $6 million? I don't know exactly why he did this. I'm sure there's some kind of context for it, but if you're making $6 million in the NHL after your escrow and your agents and blah, 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 this is 10, 15 tweets. You end up working with just under $3 million. Now, are we feeling sorry for you if you make just under $3 million, even if it's about 43% or 40% of your income? That's a lot of taxes. That's a lot of fees. But ultimately, I don't make $3 million. You know, I don't make $3 million. I would very, very much like to make $3 million. If you love this podcast enough to sponsor it for $3 million, there's not a whole lot I wouldn't do for you. Take that as you wish. Next voicemail.
Hey, Bag Milk. It's Adam again.
What's up, Adam?
I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Why does Kylie Yamamoto not get the same amount of love as Jesse Puljujarvi? He turns over pucks just as well. He throws big hits, even though he's a lot smaller than everyone else. But when he does the same things as Yessa, he doesn't get the love. Like, I love Yessa, but I love Yamo too. I don't get why everyone overlooks Yamamoto when he does the same thing. Yamo deserves love too.
That's an interesting question. I wonder if there's anything to do with the fact that Yessa, he went to Finland, comes back, had some success, and he's kind of like the team puppy almost. You know, you just look at him and he makes you feel good. I think that's it. I don't know though, because Kailer Yamamoto, he had himself a decent run there. What did he have? 6 or 7 games in a row with a goal. He is tenacious on the puck. He's a dog on a bone. He'll hit. He's got a lot of fight in him. You know, he'll go to look for turnovers. He'll go to look for loose pucks. He's not afraid to get in the corners. He's not afraid to get greasy. So why does Yessa get more love? I'm going to say it's the puppy effect. He is a large adult puppy. And that's all I can think of. It really is. If you got a better answer why Yessa gets more love, I'd love to hear it. Hit me up in the voicemail. Hit me up, JSBM Bagmilk on Twitter. Hi, my name is Bagmilk on Instagram. Good question, Adam.
Hey, Bagmilk. You're a wine guy now. You do wine things. You even own a wineskin. You're super wine guy. But you're probably wondering how to take this all to the next level. Like a proper drinking vessel. Perhaps a chalice, maybe a goblet.
Now we're talking. Dangerous Wade, is this you? Because if this is Dangerous Wade, he is speaking my language. I've been thinking about this. What do I need? Like what kind of vessel do I need? So I'm liking where this is going already.
But let's say you also want to be hands-free. You don't want to be, saddled with responsibility of making sure you know where your cup is. Because, those things can get lost easily. Well, sir, wine already actually has the answer for that. It's called the Tast event. Imagine a small cup attached to a chain you wear around your neck. Now, historically, chain's also been, bedazzled quite a bit, little charms.
Okay. Just picture this. It's a playoff party. The Oilers are in. They're up in the first round. And in walks Bag Milk into Campio. We're having a playoff party. We walk down to Campio. In walks Bag Milk with a goblet, or I don't know what Dangerous Wade said there, a Tastavan. But in I walk with this around my neck. That is a look that anybody can get behind. You can set your watch to that look.
Jewels, all this other stuff. So, look into a Tastavan. Because then at that point, imagine you roll into a party, wineskin under your arm, Tastavan around your neck, bedazzled charms. You'd be basically, 18th century French Duke party mode guy, which who doesn't want to be that? So, look into a Tastavan. Thank you.
Dangerous Wade, you make a lot of sense to me. A Tastavan. And like you said, and like I said, imagine me rolling into a nation party wearing one of those. Everybody's having a good time. Everybody.
Hey, Big Milk. Let's talk about accountability. Let's talk about someone saying he's going to do something on Twitter.com, and then when the Oilers win and the thing is supposed to happen, it still hasn't happened. Like a week later. We talk about accountability on the ice. We talk about accountability of officials. Let's talk about accountability of Tyler Yaremchuk's.
Tyler Yaremchuk, after the game against the San Jose Sharks, he tweeted to me. He says, if the Sharks win, or if the Oilers win, remember, at that point, they were down 1-0. Nuge got the shorty, ended up winning it in OT. He said, if the Oilers win this game, I will give you a kiss. Now, we are over a week out from that game. We are a week out from that game, I should say. And where's my kiss? Tyler Yaremchuk fears paying his bets so much, so greatly, that he fled the country down to Nashville to avoid paying his bet. He's welching on this bet. And I'm not saying that I necessarily want the kiss from Tyler, but at this stage, I've accrued so much interest on this kiss. So much interest that Tyler's going to have a real problem when he comes to settle. And I agree with Surveyor Brett. That, Tyler, you need to sort your life out. You really, really need to sort your life out. I am not here to have bets unpaid. That's me shooting Tyler. I didn't mean to, Tyler. You gave me no choice.
Hey, Pegged, it's Sherry. Last night's game was, well, in a word, in the toilet. As to who I would start in net right this second, if the playoffs are starting, I'd probably go with Skinner. You have an awesome podcast. It makes me laugh. The antics between Presto and Junkie Volley, who, yes, is British and who is a hoot consistently. Other than that, I'm looking forward to the latest episode. Keep up the great work.
Thank you, Sherry. Leave a message anytime. I appreciate that. Yes, I didn't hear from Presto this week, actually, but the antics of Donkey Volley, always appreciated. Donkey Volley also took some heat. Presto took some heat. Donkey Volley took some heat. The voicemails in general took some heat. But I think that we're improving. I'll cut you off if I think you're running long. We're upgrading. And also, thank you for answering the questions. Another vote for Stuart Skinner. Unfortunately, I don't think he's going to be in the mix. That's not what I would do. That's not what I would do at all. But unfortunately, Jay Woodcroft isn't asking for my opinion, and even though he should. And there you go, the Rig Hand Distillery voicemail. Go to rickhanddistillery.com and find the tour and tasting coupon. It's right there on the website. That'll get you a free drink, free pass into the facility out in Nisku. Find out how they make the booze. Get yourself a bottle of Double Double for your coffee, whether you're golfing, maybe just a little weekend drinky poo. It's delicious. Or if you're a fan of the B-Cast, check out the Brum from my friends at Rickhand Distillery, rickhanddistillery.com. And there you go. Another podcast in the books. How I want to end it? Well, there's this. Tomorrow, Nashville. We need this one. I'm going to say a 4-2 win for the Oilers. That's very on brand. Saturday, Vegas. That one is huge. That's a 4-point game that the Oilers absolutely have to win. Again, that's another 4-2 win that you can tuck in the bank. However, the time between now and then, there's a lot of time here. And they've got wins they need to rack up. We've got losses in other places that we need. LA, Vegas, you need to lose. It's a stressful time. It's a stressful time. I also want to thank Colin Basran, Mayor of Kelowna, British Columbia, for jumping on the podcast with me. Why did I have a mayor on here? Why did he clear his schedule to talk to me? These are all questions I would love to have the answers to. But that'll take time to find. They will take time to find. I also want to thank Arcadia Brewing, of course, for jumping on as the title sponsor. Manscaped.com. Better 20 is your promo code there, and Rickhand Distillery. And lastly, before I wrap, I just want to know, if you've made it this far, how do I sound? I bought some new equipment. The equipment I talked about last week that I thought was going to fix the audio, well, it's here now. It's here. I did it. I'm using it. How do I sound? Do I sound okay? Is it a 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10, 10 out of 10? I'd like to hear it. Hit me up in the voicemail. Hit me up on Twitter and Instagram. DMs are open. And that is another episode of Better Late Than Never.